So if you'd like to make a lady's diary for yourself, this is how I've put mine together. First of all, I've started off with the binder. The paper I used on this one was the afternoon tea, not the teacup side, but I like the spots. And I've cut, let's bring my chipboard in, 2 pieces of chipboard. It's 2mm chipboard at 9 inches by 6 3/4 inches, and a spine that is 1.5 inches wide by 9 inches long, and stuck those together down onto the papers. I've put 2 pieces of paper together, 2 pieces of the 12 by 12 paper, and I've got a join just on the back here, away from the spine and away from the front. So I've stuck that down, covered those chipboard pieces with the paper, so that's all ready now to start putting the inside detail into. So if I move that away, I'm not going to go through how I made the book, but I will tell you what I used to make it. I started off with 2 pieces of chipboard, from which I cut those 2 pieces, front and back, and the spine, and then 5 pieces of A4 card. This is 300 GSM cream card. It's textured, and so there's 5 pieces of that, and then 1 piece of craft card, and that's for the spine that we're going to stitch the pages to. I also used vintage photo ink. I've got a really lovely little corner punch. This is just from our local hobbycraft store. It hasn't got a name, unfortunately, but it's just a corner detail punch. My bone folder, my paper piercer, scissors obviously, some embroidery thread. This one is DMC, just cream embroidery thread, and just bring it on in, a Prima Mask, which is this one, and I use the edges of that, which I'll show you in a minute. So let's move these out of the way. So as I say, chipboard pieces, I'm not going to show you how I cut those out. I just made a standard folder to put everything in. So we'll start with the pages. So just taking one of them, if you're not or haven't got A4 card, the measurements for this are 11, I think, and 3/4. I'll just check for you. 11 3/4 by 8 1/4. So if you want to use cardstock, it would work just as well. The pages would just be a little lighter. And the first thing to do is to fold the card in half and really give it a good fold with your bone folder, just down that edge there, and that gives a nice sharp fold. And then trim the corners, all 4 corners, they're not brilliant, these little punches. To give you that shape. And the next thing to do is take your mask. Let's just take mine out of the bag and pack it. This is a lovely, lovely mask. It's got lots of jagged details around the edge, and I thought it would make a really nice inked border, sort of a worn border like pages go in an old book. So what I've done is just put the mask up towards the corner of the page, and taking my vintage photo ink and ink blending tool, very lightly work from the mask to the edge of the paper, just catching that corner, and then I turn the mask around to carry on around the next corner and carried on inking. And I kept doing that, working my way around each of the pages. Now I put 5 folded pages in this book, so there are 20 pages to ink. It does take some time. So I'll just do this one and leave you to get on with your other 4 double inserts. Not too much ink on the blender, but just enough to give, just show you, I don't know if you can see that, but just a hint of detail around the edge of the page. And obviously the harder you press, the darker the detail. So can you see that? And just like Blue Peter, here's one that I did earlier. Inked and folded. So once you've got all 5, let's bring them all in. Inked and folded. Go around the edges with either vintage photo ink or, as I did in my original book, I went round the edge with a gold dabber, just to give a hint of gold leaf on the edge of the pages. You really can't see it, so I'm not going to do that with this one. And then I'm going to take 4 pages away and keep one in front of me. And now I'm going to make the holes that I'm going to stitch the pages into the book with. So taking my ruler and my paper piercer, shall I zoom in a little bit and then you can see. I measured in 1 inch from the edge of the paper and marked a hole, pushed through with my paper piercer, and then did the same at 2 inches. And I did the same then from the top. So the first hole is in 1 inch and the second hole is in 2 inches. So do that with all of your sheets and make sure that your holes are down that fold, and then just make them a little bigger by pushing your paper piercer all the way through. Because each of these pages is going to go individually into the book. Put them all together like this. And I don't know if you can see, but all the holes have all been pierced and they're all lining up. So the next thing to do is to cut yourself a spine from the craft card. And mine is 5 inches wide by 8.5 inches long. Let's just zoom out a bit. And I've marked a centre line, so actually this is 1/4 inch longer than my page. So when I lie my page down over the top, I can see the pencil line top and bottom. So what I've done is line that up, mark the centre line, and then taking my page, I laid it down over the top of the craft card. I lined up the centre fold of the page with the centre line that I've drawn in pencil on the spine piece underneath. I took my paper piercer and pierced through the holes, the 4 holes down that folded sheet. And that gave me my centre line on my spine. And then I'm just going to take the paper piercer and push it right through those centre lines, or centre holes. And then the next thing I did was take my ruler. This is the Tim Holtz ruler, which is brilliant. It's got a centre mark. And I took my paper piercer. It's also really good for making sure that you've got your ruler lined up straight on the side of your, against the sides of your paper. So I took my paper piercer and at 1/4 inch spaces punched another 2 holes either side of the centre, 2 to the left, 2 to the right, as I'm going to add 5 pages. Then I moved down to the next set of holes and did exactly the same. 2 to the left, 2 to the right. Or if you're watching it, I'm doing it upside down, so I should say 2 to the right and 2 to the left. And I've done that 4 times, working up this spine. And then I'm just taking my paper piercer and just making each one of those holes a little bit bigger and large enough to take the needle that I'm going to stitch the pages into the book with. Now, if like me, you've drawn on here, you can either turn it over or rub out of your pencil lines. So I'm just going to rub mine out. And then thread up your needle with your cotton and we'll be ready to start sewing. Well, the rubber's nearly rubbed out on the end of the pencil. Okay. Right, we need a page. Let's bring a page back and a needle threaded up with some embroidery thread. So let's zoom in. So first of all, we want to just catch this thread on the back of our spine piece. So I'm going to push it through one hole, pull it like that and just put a little bit of double-sided tape, thread the needle up through the top hole of the first page that I want to put on, then down and back through the first hole in the next line of holes that we've punched, like that. So let's just move out a little bit. Where's the needle gone? So that is page number 1. And then I'm going to come up. This is like sewing through those cards. Do you remember those when we were little? Spotty dogs and things. So remember, you've come up through the lower hole, so take your next page and push the needle up through the lower hole, down through the top hole, and down through the top hole on the spine and pull it through. So that's page number 2 in. Fold it over and then come up through the third hole on the top line, if you can. Okay. Next page. You do need to have all your pages done and ready before you start doing this. So up through the top one, let's just pull this, otherwise it's going to pull out. Down through the bottom one and through the bottom third hole. Flip that back the other way. It is a bit fiddly and the pages do move around, but don't worry. Okay, up hole number 4 on the bottom row of holes, she says. Next page, up through the bottom hole, down through the top one and through the spine. And then let's just put the last page on. Can't do it. So up through hole number 5, through the top hole on your page, down through the second hole, let's pull it through, whoops, and down through the spine. And that has actually caught those top pages onto the backing piece now. So they're a bit wobbly, so what I'm going to do is stand it up and starting from this side, I'm just going to tighten, where's my paper piercer? I'm just going to tighten these loops. So that's where I started. So I'm just going to pull that one, and then I know I went down there, pull that one, pull that one. Oh, it doesn't want to pull. Pull that one, pull that one, pull the last one, and then I'm just going to turn it over to check that they are in tightly, which they're not. So let's do some more pulling. Let's do it this way now. You do just need to make sure that all of your strings or threads hold the pages really tightly onto the book or onto the back piece. So just fiddle around with them. Let's hold all the pages straight. But the next thing we're going to do is to stick the end piece of cotton down . That should be fine now. Just turn it over again. Pull it again and just check that they're all in, which they are, and then holding it really firmly, just flip over and then just tape your end down with, I'm just going to put a couple of pieces of double-sided tape on here, like that. Whoops. And that just secures it. And then do exactly the same for the bottom set of pages. So I've stuck my thread down, I'm starting at the bottom hole and I'm coming up through that page, down through the next one, if you can see, let's turn it round, and down through hole number 1. These ones are a little bit more fiddly to put in, only because they're already stitched and secured the other end. And then let's put the next one in. So I can't do this. I have to look up through the bottom hole, in through the page, out through the page and down through that bottom hole. Flip that one over, I'm pulling the thread quite tight as I go, and holding my thumb on that page so that it doesn't move. I'm sure it will. And then up through that top hole, let's just hold that tight, in through the page, just pull it in, pull it tight, down through the page, and down through the bottom hole. So it's quite simple, it's just fiddly. But it's a different way of adding your pages into your book, and I thought I wanted to do something different for CHA, and something that was quite simple. Oops. And uncluttered, really. Oops. That's not to say the whole book didn't take me forever to make, because it did, because there is so much cutting out in it. That did take me a couple of days to get all of the images cut out. Stopping and starting, around a full-time job and everything else that goes on in my little life. Okay, where am I coming? Right, up through this next one. This is the last hole now. Oh, and TV appearances. I'm going to be doing some more shows on Create and Craft and the Ideal World channel. So if you like watching that, I'm doing a scrapbooking show on Sunday the 12th of August. Using loads of different products, which will be really, really exciting. Okay, so they're all stitched in, and can you see that leaves a really nice space in between each page, or each set of pages. So those ones are pulled quite tight. I've made sure that I pulled them as I went. Let's just tighten them up. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of double-sided tape again to stick those down. And actually that's quite a neat back as well. It's not bulky, quite flat, and you can add as many pages as you like. Just allow 1/4 of an inch between each one, and then that gives you enough space if you want to build your pages up with lots of embellishments. It gives you enough space for your book to sit flat. And then the actual spine is 1/4 of an inch wider than the last hole that I've made. And all that we've got to do now is to put this into the book. So, let's find the centre page. The centre page gives you the centre line that you need to line up along the centre of your spine. So I'm just going to put a couple of little pencil marks just along this top edge here. I know my spine was 1.5 inches wide, so I've just found the centre point and just put a tiny pencil mark, because if you're out with your measurements, then the pages don't sit straight. Okay, I've put double-sided tape down the spine and a piece of double-sided tape down either edge of each cover, and now I'm just going to pull this off. This is extra thick double-sided tape that I got from a friend of mine, Ali, from Ali Craft, and it's brilliant. Nothing moves after it's been stuck down with this. So thank you, Ali, for that. Let's just pull that one from underneath. Let's get the last one off. I've lost my craft knife, I don't know where it's gone. So, okay, that's off. Now, definitely got my centre page open. I'm just going to line the fold in the page up with the top and bottom of the book so that it's spaced and sits evenly, lining it up with those 2 pencil marks, and then I'm going to press it down. Flip the pages over, make sure that that's well stuck, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and just gently ease this craft card into the fold and start to fold the cover over there, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So just start the fold going. You want the craft card to sit neatly into the fold and not move. That's it. So let's bring that, and now I'm just going to, I always do this, starts it flexing and gives it some movement, and then I'm going to go back and just work on that fold again. I'm just pressing the corner edge of my bone folder into the craft card, but not so hard as it rips it. And that's it. That's the back, and that's the front. And that's how I made my lady's diary. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Now you can fill your diary with whatever elements you want to add. I put some pictures of what I did with my book on this video so that you can have a look for some ideas, but I'm sure you've got loads of your own. Anyway, thanks ever such a lot for watching. Have fun if you make one, and happy crafting.